We are on and live. You have the meeting, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone. We'll now call this meeting of the Coventry Sewer Subcommittee to order. It is 6:05 PM, May 20th, 2021. I'll now take attendance. Glenn Skirka, that's me, I'm here. Tony Raposo? You're on mute, Tony.
Yeah.
Lisa Castelli,
Here.
James LeBlanc,
Here.
Jen Ludwig,
Here.
and Mike Sakosha.
Here.
All right, everyone is here.
Rick Noons. What about Rick Noons?
Rick, you gotta fill out an application.
I did. I was here last week. Remember?
What's
You got a
that?
new board member.
I was here last week. We had to cancel the meeting.
No,
Yeah,
I
you
know,
wanna be
but
a
you're not on the board.
Oh, okay.
That was attendance for the board members.
I don't want to fill out an application. Thank you anyway.
Chairman, I think we found a good applicant to be part of the board.
I think
Rick Noon should be on the board.
Rick and his son might be good candidates.
I could nominate him if you want.
Michael, behave
All right.
yourself.
Let's get on with this. First order of business is approval of the minutes from April 14th, 2021. Is there any question or concern about the meeting minutes?
I was not at that meeting, so I don't believe I can approve those minutes from the
That's
last
fine.
meeting.
Right? You can abstain from the vote. Hearing no questions, I will make the motion to approve the minutes from April 14th, 2021. Can I have a second?
I'll second that, Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Oh, before we continue, I would like to formally welcome Lisa. I know we gave you a short welcome, but it wasn't an official meeting, so now that this is your first official meeting, welcome to the board. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, the next order of business is a sewer tie-in request for 1089 Main Street, assessors plat 45, lot 41. Is Bruce on? There you are.
Yep.
Bruce, you reviewed this? No comments?
Yes. No, everything looks good.
And West Warwick has reviewed it and submitted their compliance letter?
No, this doesn't go to West Warwick.
Oh, all right, so residential,
It's residential.
correct. Okay, is there any questions from the board to Mr. Nunes, who will be installing this sewer tie-in?
Yes, Chairman, I have one question. Can we hold up the tie-in request for Mr. Nunes as long as we can hold him hostage to get him on the board to be a member of the board?
Thank you, Mr. Sakosha. I love you too.
It sounds like a suitable request, but it is denied.
Denied. Thank you.
We are live here, right? We are live here, right?
We are live.
Yeah. Is there any legit questions for Mr. Nunes regarding the sewer tie-in? Is there any questions from the board about this tie-in application? All right, hearing none, I will make the motion to approve the sewer tie-in request for 1089 Main Street, assessors plat 45, lot 41. Can I have a second?
Make it second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Rick, you're good to go. You'll be on the next town council meeting agenda, and then you'll be good to go after that, I believe.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, everyone.
See you later, Rick.
All right, Mike, take care. See you, Tony.
You're right.
All right, moving on. The next order of business is new business, and it's excuse me, a discussion on the 2021/2022 budget and the corresponding usage rates. Is Ed, are you going to brief us on this?
I will, sir. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to put up the budgetary numbers that we have, so everybody can see them. I'm going to start first with the expenditures. The expenditures are the expenditures. We've got no control. This is what they are, and they total 2.5 million, actually $2,501,018. And there was a listing on it. And by item, the vast majority obviously are the bond issue payments on that, as well as our Weston and Sampson contract and the other minor. As far as our revenue, I'll bring that up. And we're currently estimating at this point 2.127452 on revenue, which is obviously showing a shortfall of 384,000. I believe it is 373,566,000 shortfall. The revenue side, we are still looking at all new projects that will be coming online. So there'll be new additional revenue sources coming in. So we haven't finalized and gone through to the council on recommending an increase in the usage fees, though that will be something that's going forward once we finalize all of these numbers on what we can anticipate. We're looking at making sure that we get every dime anticipated on revenue coming in before we go and readjust and recommend to the council on the new user rate fees. So unfortunately, these are our current numbers, and we'll be moving forward from them in the very near future. As everybody is aware, the usage bills go out in September, so we will be finalizing this prior to that point. If anyone has any questions, any concerns, I can try and answer what you have.
All right, I got a couple first. Are the public assessments accounted for in that spreadsheet?
What do you mean the public assessments?
The assessments due to the town from the police station, the town hall annex, all of those charges.
All of those charges have been paid off by the utilization of, per the Auditor General's report. The recommendation was that we pay off those assessments, offsetting against the $3.5 million that was owed from the sewer enterprise fund to the town. So we've offset that by, it's almost $2.1 million. So all of those assessments have been paid off.
So by the time that all your figures are in, like the total shortfall is only going to be a few $100,000 bucks?
Well, that's what we're looking at, and we're hoping to reduce that by any new projects that will be coming online between now and during the course of this 21-22 budget. So we're looking at any development, any assessments coming in, any user fees that we'll be starting to add into the system. So we're looking at all of that before we come up and do a proposal to the council to amend the ordinance and change the user fee rate.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions from anybody else on the board? I'm finished for the moment.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jen.
Ed, could you please put that back on the screen for us? I don't know if you know some of the answers now or how we would get some of this. So some of the lines here does this come directly, for example, from West Warwick, or, I see things like inspection costs, telephone, I'm trying to understand how those get broken back to us.
On the expenses, those are payouts to town departments from this budget, where this budget is supposed to handle all of those costs. They haven't been handling all of those costs. We've actually been eating them as part of the town. And this is basically like a cost sharing and paying back the town for the costs that are associated with this. We have phone lines that are connected into the pump stations. So some of that stuff is cost that we've already got, that we've been paying right along. So that's what those are. But there's no additional cost to West Warwick other than what's noted in these expenses.
So these are self-allocated. We've put this together based off of everything that we believe is contributing.
Correct. And actual cost. I mean, a lot of this is all actual cost that we have. I mean, the cost of Weston and Sampson is a known number. That's a given. the cost on the bonds and the cost on West Warwick cost for all of these lines, the bond issuance, all of those are known. So there's very little in here other than mandatory costs that where we have to pay.
Okay. And so, just so I understand the dates, I think you had said something about September.
September is when we issue the new user, user fees and the user bills. So that's when we have to have the new user rate set by.
Okay. I think I said this, it was either at the town council meeting or in an email, I don't remember, so I'll just say it again. I think we need to be over communicating anything having to do with sewer fees if they're going to have a proposal to go up later this year. And so, you know, utilizing this forum to go through things is obviously appropriate. Having any type of comparative analysis, what are other, nearby towns charging? Having that information, I think, would be helpful so we can see bigger picture on this.
Yep, nope,
And
we've
then
got all
also-
of that, and we will do that. Also, I mean, some of the things that we're looking at as we move forward, one of the things we don't have in our town is a minimum user fee, as most communities have that, and that's something that needs to actually be added in on here. We've got, it would help to alleviate the pressure on all the people that are using it by adding in so everybody pays a piece of this. Most communities have a minimum user fee. We do not at this point. That's something that we do need to look at and bring forward to the council.
So for example, someone might have paid an assessment but hasn't tied in, so they have no current usage fees.
Correct, as well as we have people that are tied in because they're snowbirds or they're out of the property for a good portion of the year. There's very, very little usage on it. So, and again, if you look at other communities, and we will document this when I bring it forward to the council, what the other communities are charging. West Warwick, for example, is 4,000 cubic feet. There's a minimum usage that they charge on. We don't have any of that. Other communities have even higher. I looked at one.
Do you know just generally what that translates into is
I wouldn't want to throw a number out there that I'm not positive of, Jen. So I'm not going to say a number until I have it in front of me.
That's fine. I think I'm just more interested in ballpark, $500 a year, $5,000 a year.
I believe West Warwick is somewhere in the 400 or so range, but
Okay.
I'm not positive. As I said, there are some communities that are using a 10,000 cubic, and their numbers are up there even substantially higher. I don't want to go anywhere near that. I want to keep this and try and be as fair to everybody as possible. And again, the council will be given all of this data before we make any kind of a change or a recommended change. My plan is also to utilize the sewer subcommittee as part of this, because I think they need to be involved in any of these things as well.
I'm just wondering if there's any way to use possible or if we have any desire to use any COVID funding or anything for this as well. So just something for us to think about as we get more information about the COVID funds coming in.
There are some things I'd rather not go into it in a public setting at this time, but yes, there is some definite interest in utilizing some of those funds in this area. So, but at this point, until there's more data on it all, I'd rather not open my mouth on any of it. But that is something we are looking at.
And then my last question is around communication. So let's just hypothetically say we do need to ask for an increase. What's the general process on that right now? So I know that, for example, we had an increase, I think it was last year, right? So do we notify the residents? What's kind of the general process?
We would do that. There would be a hearing on it. It has to be a public hearing because it's an ordinance change. So that would all be notified through there. As far as an individual notification to the users, we do not do that. Again, that's something that if the council so chooses, it could be accomplished and done. So they get individually notified about that. But at this point, it would be a public hearing because it is an ordinance change. again, my goal on this is to keep this at an absolute minimum. And that's why we're looking at all of the potential additional revenue sources coming online into the enterprise fund through any development that's going on and anybody new coming into and joining onto the system.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ed, I got a question.
Go ahead, Tony.
Ed, what's the trustee one there, the line? Can you go back to that?
Which line, sir?
Trustees fees, what is that all about? Up top on the revenue, operating revenue?
I'm not going to give you an answer on that. I don't know. This was developed by our finance director, and I don't know where that particular line item came from. I will check on it and I will advise everyone on what it is.
Okay, well, it seems like she's got she's even got FICA, employee FICA things there, so.
Yep.
And then my other question was debt services. On that 2006 bond, how many more years do we have on that? Is that a 20-year bond? What is that? Do you know?
These were typically 20 on these. Something we're looking at is also do a refi on these to see if we can take advantage of any of the lower rates and try to refinance all of this if we can to bring this down. So that's something that's in process as well.
That would be a good idea to see if we can consolidate it and
Yep.
see what we can save on that.
It may extend some of these out, but it would lower the annual payments on it all.
Right.
And that may be something we have to
The
deal with.
interest rate.
Correct. Yep,
Absolutely. You'd be surprised what you could save on that.
exactly.
Ed, Tony, are you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
My next question is, and it's something that kind of has a little bit more to do with Jen. Jen is kind of going down to West Warwick and overseeing a lot of the communication that's going back between Coventry and West Warwick, between the subcommittee and the sewer plant and what goes on in West Warwick. And my question is we've accounted for some leakage that occurred last year that we never got billed for from West Warwick. And moving forward, they were talking about that they were going to maybe start billing us for that. And should we be taking that into account in the 2021 budget?
I am not hearing that they are going to bill us on any of that. We've had some issues on a couple of locations that we have not gotten finalized on it. So I'm not at this point. I'd rather not try to crank those up if we can avoid it at this point. If they gave us indication that they might, then we would make adjustments to that and move forward. But at this point, I'm not hearing that it's going to happen.
What is their process for billing us and notifying us of that? Do they have to give us a certain amount of time, or is it something that they can just slap us with the bill?
Well, we asked them, we've been in contact with them. Mr. LeBlanc was in my office at the time. We actually look into what they're looking at for any type of improvements or anything. And we're being advised that nothing new was coming down the pipe for this year.
Okay. My other question, I guess, is in regards to the development. So you're talking about some projects that are coming online, and currently the new projects that come online, I mean, how long do they have to pay their fees for their assessments? Are they due when the house gets a CO? Are they due over 20 years?
No, they would be given the same time frame that everybody else is given on the 20-year payback on that. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be, again, some projects we may get it up front, like in the case for last year, we had a situation with Center of New England, and that amounted to a payment of $180,000, $184,000, one payment in full on the 27 properties. So that particular one, we ended up getting a decent influx in. But the vast majority obviously would be on that 20-year, where the normal ones go on the assessments.
Are we able to move, when we move forward with new developers, I mean, I'm a developer in town and obviously this would affect me, but I guess the question is it's a lot easier for me to charge X amount of dollars more because of the sewer assessment on a house at time of closing and pay the fee to the town than it is to obviously amortize it, which wouldn't help the town out over 20 years. Is that something that we're looking at or?
I don't
No, but
think
it
we
is
could do
now.
it.
It is that we can look at. Mr.
It's
Circa,
always, it's always an option for anybody to pay their fee up front if they desire, but
Yep.
you can't make it mandatory. And expect everybody else to have the 20-year period to pay it. You know, there's gotta be one standard for everybody. So
we will,
it's-
yeah, we will willingly accept your payment in full.
No, I get
Anytime
that.
you want to make that payment, sir.
I get that part of it, but is there a law or a some sort of guideline that separates that can't separate us from new construction and existing construction on collecting fees? I'm just asking because if that was the case, then we would be able to collect more fees on some of the new houses that are being developed that are tying on to the sewer line, and we wouldn't be at a shortfall of $373,000.
So one of the things that I know we discussed this maybe a year or two ago, and the plan was at some point when everything settles down within the town regarding sewers, that we were gonna do an amendment to the ordinance and try to clear up some of the language in the ordinance on betterment assessments and make the betterment assessments payable in full, because they're much lower than the typical assessment. And they're typically to contractors who are building the infrastructure and to additions that are put on top of primary assessments already. So that was a discussion to change it solely for betterment assessments, but not for typical assessments.
So as an example, let me ask you this question, and Monique might be able to might be the one to answer this question. What is the actual sewer assessment for the houses located on East Shore Drive as an example?
It depends on if it's a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom. 4 bedrooms, I believe, are like $64.99. 3 bedrooms, I think, are $59.49 in that area.
So the question is this, at this point, I mean, we need to do something, I think, as a board to move forward and try to get those assessments paid at CO from the town, because they're not significant numbers. Even though that these people are going to be allowed 20 years to pay $6,000, I think that's lucid. You know, the town is losing the revenue from that we need now in order to balance the budget on the sewer end. I mean, if someone's
Which
going to add,
houses are you talking about, Mike?
well, East Shore Drive is an example, right? How many houses are going into this? 35, right?
You're talking about the new East Shore?
The new East
New
Shore
houses?
Drive. Yes.
All right, so those new houses are subject to betterment assessments.
Right. But what I'm saying is this, that betterment assessment goes to the contractor installing the road and building the house and selling it, correct?
Right.
So the only fee that the homeowner, who is the end user, is responsible for is the $6,400. That should be part of the CO and closing the house out.
Right, well, without an ordinance change, you can't enforce that.
Right. Well, I think we need to review as to how we can move forward to do that, because if you just said $7,000 on 30 houses, you're talking $210,000. You're more than halfway there to balance the budget for this year. Now,
Right.
That's obviously not going to happen with that development because it's already been approved, I believe. Through us, it's been approved, but as a development through the town, it's been approved. But if people are going to continue to build houses in town and they're going to tie onto the sewer, and the developer is going to benefit from the betterment assessment, and the homeowner is going to benefit from not having to come up with $20,000 as the assessment, I think it should be paid at the closing.
Well,
And let the builder and let the new homeowner battle out whether that's going to be the builder that pays it at closing or if the homeowner is going to pay it at closing, you know, and then we're out of it. you know?
So
Mike, does-
you may
and
be
then-
willing to do that, but I don't know if the rest of the builders in town are willing to do that, since they're already subject to impact fees and permit fees and all the other fees that guys like you gotta pay.
Well,
Again, Mike, this is all part of why this whole ordinance
Right.
needs to be reviewed
I know
and
that when,
changes made on it.
I know that when John Asselon, I'm gonna use him as an example, not to call him out as in his name, but I know when he built the River Bend's development over there, I know that what he did was he incorporated, I think, some of that as part of his sales tactics to sell the property and sell some of the units. And it made it better for the person buying the unit, because they didn't have to worry about paying that fee anymore. And then the end user, the homeowner, didn't have to experience getting a bill in the mail or anything. It was paid. It was done. So I don't know. I think it's something we should look at, you know? I mean, and like I said, it doesn't really help me because I'm a developer in town. And if I'm going to tie on to the sewer and I'm going to have a betterment, and then I have to come up with a little bit more money at the end. Yeah. But in the real scheme of things, we're not chasing people for money anymore on some of the newer stuff. Some of the older stuff that people have, and they've lived in their house 30 years, and yeah, they need the 20-year loan in order to cover their expenses because they're on a fixed income. I get that part of it, you know, but somebody new coming into town, that's the cost of doing business, and that's the cost of living here. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I
That's
like
my
how you're
opinion.
talking, Mike.
So,
Sounds good to me.
you know, I mean, at the end of the day, right, we're always in the hole on this sewer committee. We're never out of the hole. And that's a way to help us get out of the hole. So,
So we didn't include it on this agenda, but we'll look to get it included for next month for the ordinance changes that you're talking about, Mike. And I think you were alluding to, Ed. So we need a plan on revisiting the ordinance.
Jen, I agree, and that's something we're looking at. The problem is, I don't think that's ready for a month down the road. I think this is something that we need to spend the time on to get the sewer subcommittee involved, and we need to revamp that entire ordinance and not just do this thing piecemeal. There are a lot of issues in there that need to be corrected, and I think we should do it all in a single lump fix and take care of the issues. There's some people who have the belief that any new properties coming on shouldn't get to go in at that old lower rate on some of those areas where we're at $36,000, $3,600, $3,700, $6,600. They should be coming in at the new higher rates that all of the new properties based on it. So it's something we've got to revamp. We've got to look at all of it and come up with what's fair to everybody and come up with an ordinance that's going to assist us in funding this program and doing what needs to be done. So, but I think that involves all of us, and we need to work together to do that.
Hey, Mr. Kirk, can I ask some questions, please?
Yes, good.
Ed, do you mind bringing up the budget that you have prepared?
Certainly. What would you like to see, Mr. Lemike?
The revenues up top, please. So says assessment 800,000. Now, first question there, do you have a listing by property that makes up the 800,000?
We do. Mrs. Hool has the breakdown on that, and it's based on those numbers.
Okay, I would definitely love to see the breakout. Do you think the school? I've heard for years that Tile school might be tying in. I'm assuming if that's the case, the school is going to have to pay an assessment, and that probably would be a pretty penny. So I just didn't know if that would be in that 800, or if that's part of your earlier discussion of trying to figure out the new projects going in.
Exactly, that would be part of any new project. This is based solely on what's on the books right now.
Getcha.
That's why these numbers. Well, that's why we want to look at all of that before we make any kind of an adjustment on that rate. We want to minimize it as far down as we can based on anything that we're projecting coming online.
Understood, because if the school comes in and they're going to have to pay an assessment plus usage fee, I mean, that's going to obviously help, I would think, help this budget. That's for
Exactly.
sure. So I want to call that out.
Exactly. That's all part of what we're looking at, Mr. LeBlanc.
Understood. Can you scroll down to the bonds for a second, if you don't mind? What I personally would find helpful, I don't know if the board agrees, but if we could put maturity date and the interest rate next to each one of those lines, it just might be helpful for us to know what rate they currently are at. And I also think on those West Warwick bonds, we might want to bring it to the table at their next meeting or the meeting after, if we could discuss refinancing their bonds. I mean, some of these bonds go back to 03, 04, 05. I would have to imagine that those interest rates are a lot higher than what you can currently get now, which kind of goes back to the year earlier.
All of that is listed in our debt service booklet. And we can add that data in if you'd like. I can also, that debt service book is online if anybody wants to look at it, and it segregates all of these bonds out, the West Warwick bonds as well as the sewer bonds. They're all in their own grouping.
Understood. I mean, you can go to the town's financial statements and get them off there too. I just think when you're reviewing the budget, it just might be helpful information for us to look at.
We can start adding that in, Mr. LeBlanc. I think it's a good idea so they can see it in one page.
I would appreciate that. Is Raftellus gonna do a rate study for us? Because we talking about a rate study. They were the experts the last time we increased our rates. So I just didn't know.
They have actually developed the utility and the tool for us to use to do it, where we're simply able to put in our own numbers and it will generate what the rates are. They would obviously, they're willing. When we spoke to them when we did the contract with them, that they will be willing to come in and check our rates, check anything we want to do and do anything we want. But that was the purpose of what we did, so that we can, moving forward, we can do this based on accurate numbers, simply updating based on our cost and our revenues coming in, and give us the numbers that we need to set those rates. So that's why we've done what we've done.
That's fair. 3 more things. I'm sorry. The Byron Reed building had like I think it was like a 50K sewer assessment that we're no longer going to get because we're actually going to take it down. Do we have any write-off expenses in this budget? Because I'm assuming that might happen with other properties as well. So
No,
I just didn't know if we should consider that.
We do not on that one at all. That's not written into this.
Okay, we might want to at least ballpark an estimate. Just wanted to throw that out. I know it would hurt us, but it's obviously being a little more conservative. The minimum usage discussion that we've been kind of going back and forth on.
Let me just say this, Mr. LeBlanc. Those numbers, if I recall correctly, are not a part of that 800,000 though. They've already been out of there. They're not listed as a reduction, but if I'm not mistaken, Mo would not put those in on the assessment totals.
Understood.
It's a known that we're not getting it.
Right? You're taking it out that way instead of having a reserve. I totally get it. Yep. No, that makes sense. When we talk about minimum usage, I would just, I mean, my opinion on that one would be that for new people who just got handed an assessment, that they aren't forced to pay a minimum because they're already going to be paying the assessment, the usage fees, the plumbing, everything else that goes along with it. So I would just hope that the board might consider that. And then the only last thing is I know we have 2.3 mil of surplus because of the first round of COVID funds on the town side. I didn't know if there would be possibility to prepay any of these expenses to try to help next year's budget. I just wanted to throw it out there. So
thank you.
Those are my comments and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions for Mr. Wazika? Hearing none. Ed, there's a lot of stuff. Did you put all that together?
The budget itself was done by our finance director, Lisa Mills. She is been a great addition to our town. So yeah, Lisa's done good. So I'd like to take credit for that one, but she did it.
All right. Is there anybody from the public on?
We have 3 people from the public on. I see no hands raised for anyone with a question. If anyone would like to ask a question, simply raise your hand and we will bring you into the meeting. One more time, second time out. If anyone would like to ask a question, have a statement, make a comment, please raise your hand and we will bring you into the meeting. Following my normal routine, one last time, third strike. You have, if you'd like to have a comment, statement, question, concern, please raise your hand and we will bring you into the meeting. Apparently, the 3 attendees do not have any questions.
All right, I guess you answered them all. Or at least somebody did, right?
We tried, sir.
All right, that sounds like it's a wrap. I'll make the motion to adjourn if there are no more questions.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Hearing none, ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We'll see you in, I believe it's about 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you guys all later.
Thanks.
Night.
Good night.